I'm Francis Barillaro, and I'm a hospice and volunteer for Franciscan home care and hospice care. And I would just like to talk about why I am a hospice care volunteer. For me, hospice care came kind of as a jolt. Um, Probably about 6 months or so before my wife Judith entered into eternal life, we met one of the nurses from Franciscan home care and hospice care, and she was visiting with Judith, and we were having nursing care, but that was all we were looking for, really. Judith was under her second round of chemo treatments, and the tumor markers were improving, and we thought we were moving in the right direction. And the nurse began to talk to us about hospice care, and we both were taken aback. I mean, really, we said, well, we don't want to talk about hospice care. And particularly me, hospice care was like, all right, if we're talking about hospice care, then we're admitting that our spouse or our loved one is dying. And I wasn't ready for that. And I don't think Judith was either. We were very positive that we were going to come through that. But as time came on, I think Judith, sooner than me, was ready to say, hey, I think it's time that I really enter into hospice care. And so since we were on that journey together, that was the way we did it. And hospice care became, well, that's the reason why I'm here today, why I am a hospice volunteer, because of the process that we went through. It was, how do you say it? It was a life-giving process, really. And I came to look at hospice, and the dying process is almost something like, it's like the birthing process. You're being birthed into eternal life. And it was such a positive experience that we went through, that I keep saying we because we did it together. We were preparing for Judith's entrance into eternal life, and we did it with our children. And it's almost hard to explain how it was, how beautiful it was. Well, everyone from the nurses to the aides to Sister Catherine Mary, who would come and meet with Judith. It was like we were all aware of where we were going, but it was like how we were getting there and how we prepared. It was became a natural flow. It was not something that was artificial. So that has really propelled me, really. Our process of going through this together has propelled me, given me the energy, if you will, or more than energy, the desire to want to be able to help other people go through the processes we did. Nobody does it exactly the same. There's no formula, but to be able to go as an individual with your loved one, whether it's your spouse or your children, through the process, and to be able to prepare for what it's going to be like afterward. Like now, I know I would relate to my wife. She's in another dimension, but we still relate. And that's what I want for other people. So there's a time where you need to wait like a year before you can really become a volunteer. And it's something I just really wanted to do. And I do it by visiting people who are in hospice, and mainly I've been in their homes. And it goes from visiting once with a person who actually had almost no family to another gentleman that really, I visited him for like a year and a half. And the time frame is only 6 months but I couldn't leave him. And so even though I wasn't an official hospice care worker, I would meet him with him regularly, and I could see the process. I could see his family. I could see his sisters, everybody preparing. So it gives the patient life, and it gives me life to be able to contribute something to their, as I say, being born into eternal life. And the other way I volunteer is also through, I assist in bereavement groups. And you can really see the difference between people who have their spouse or their loved one has gone through hospice care and those who have not had that opportunity. But to be able to help somebody else, and when somebody, that's another important thing, I think, for somebody who's going through hospice or who has a spouse who has died, to be able to look at somebody and say, I know that person knows what I'm talking about. That's something you can give to somebody else that nobody else can. And then you can help them make it through the process, whether it's the transitus process into eternal life, or whether their spouse or their loved one has died and they're trying to figure out, how do I still relate to that person? How do I go on? So my experience has really helped me to volunteer to something that I would have tried to avoid once, which is now I try to reach out to as many people as I can and help them through the process.